There are now less than 24 hours remaining for those who would like to win a PS5 in the competition which I'm currently running. It's £2 for a brand new console, plus free shipping anywhere in the world. If you haven't already entered, of course, the time is now limited, and that winner will be selected tomorrow, and I'll most likely do an announcement video of who the winner was and, in a general sense, where they're from on Christmas Day. So click the link down below if you're interested, and now on with the vid. Well folks, as many of you know, I've started, as of December, releasing a monthly special projects car pack as a way of adding extra vehicles for the community to enjoy, as well as whatever Polyphony adds. But for this one, I decided to do a bonus build, which is not part of those 10. Instead of waiting until January, why not do it already? I had a lot of requests for this one to do a special project for a Z06 variant of the new C8 Corvette. So that is exactly what we've done. Now this is another Secret Santa collab with a member of the community, and of course I'll flash up their name in a bit. But as far as the tuning, first of all, if you've already tuned a Corvette, I prefer to buy a new one and use a fresh slate, but that's down to you. In terms of the actual tuning though, I've gone for sports pads. You might think, well, why not racing stuff? Well, again, as with all of these replica builds, you want them to feel realistic. You don't want the car to feel too good, as ironic as that sounds. So sports brakes. Then as far as the club sports section, you want your high lift cams, high compression pistons, the sport clutch and flywheel, sport brakes, the power restrictor. You don't actually need the restrictor for this one. And as you can see, we've technically got 2 horsepower more than the real car is rated at. The reason for that is because it's about as close as I could get without fitting a completely unnecessary supercharger and then really having to restrict it. So I would always recommend having the restrictor anyway. For example, if you want to use it in a restricted race, you can always just do that. But that's down to you. You do want some ballast, because that will come in handy in a second. For the semi-racing stuff, you want your racing crank, the fully customized computer. I would recommend the semi-racing silencer, because that keeps the outside exhausts, but also improves the power and the sound. Then, as far as the diff, or the LSD, the limited slip diff, you want the fully customized one. For the racing stuff, you want to stroke up the engine, balance tuning, polished ports, racing filter. Again, that's kind of inconsistent with what I said about racing parts, but we needed to get it to 670 horsepower at the end of the day. The manifold, the, of course, fully customized suspension. I've actually opted to leave the transmission stock, and that was mostly so that it still feels like a road car. I didn't want it to have that, straight cut, quick shifting race car kind of vibe. I wanted it to still feel believable. And then for the extreme section, we haven't got anything fitted there. So as you can see, 672 horses. I'm running with a quoted weight of 1,662 kilos. It seems to vary a little bit online between 1,662 and around 1,670, so why not go for the lower of those? So it is heavier than the normal one, at least according to those real-life specs, and as you can see, it sits at 622 points. Now, as far as the auto section, you do not need the wide body for this one. So, of course, if you already have one with a wide body, you will unfortunately need to buy a new car. And I'll flash up on screen the name of the creator of this design. You don't need to use search tags though, because as with all of my builds, somebody suggested this and it was a very good suggestion. I've just put a link down below in the description so you can jump over to the Gran Turismo website and add it to your library. It's very easy to do. They've done a pretty damn good job, I think, of replicating it, at least as far as we can, without the actual bodywork of the real car. And the only thing that I changed, compared to what they've done, is it has the same wheels, and when you go into the wheel section, you can already see here what they had, but then they had not, or at least it looked to me like they hadn't widened the tyres, so they were kind of lost in the wheel arches a little bit. And sure enough, when I changed that, it did make a difference. So, for reference, I went for these. Then we went for the wider tyres, and then I believe I left it on 19-inch rims, and that got us up to 622 points. So that does make a slight difference for those who are curious. So that's it for the visual design. Of course, show that creator some love. I believe at the time when I downloaded it, it had like 6 likes, something like that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how much more love that gets. Then, as far as the actual tuning, of course we've got the sports hards fitted. You could upgrade the tyres, but I didn't, again, want it to feel too OP. I wanted it to feel like a representation of what this car could feel like in the game, obviously. So as far as the suspension, again, the ride height is not super low, 115mm, so it is about 20mm lower than the standard. We've increased the anti-roll to 6, front and rear, 37 on compression, 45 for the rebound, or expansion as they call it, frequency on 2.85, front and back, I've reduced the camber a little bit to 1.5 front and rear. We've got the toe in 0.2 on the back and out 0.10 on the front. As far as the diff, this might not be to everyone's taste, but I wanted the car to be a little bit heavier when exiting corners rather than having some snap oversteer. So less slidey, less tail happy, more focused, more almost, Porsche GT3 kind of spec. And this is the build that I've used to get that, so 20, 5, and 30. Some may find it too heavy though, so give it a try and see what you think. Of course, no NOS, no upgraded transmission, the power has not been restricted at all. As far as the ballast, you need quite a lot to get up to that real world weight of 1662. I've opted to put that all the way to the front though, to improve the distribution a bit to a 45-55. Then as far as the downforce, I've gone for 200 on the back, 150 on the front, so a bit of a disparity there, comparatively a lot higher on the front, but again, it's pretty even overall in terms of the actual number difference. And then you can see, of course, all the parts here that we have fitted: the air cleaner, exhaust, manifold, brakes pads, and then the clutch and flywheel. As well as, of course, down here, these parts as well. So that's it for the actual tune. Now let's jump out to Interlagos and see what it can do. Now, as I said, I wanted this car to feel, above all, believable. I didn't want it to feel like a C8R race car, because that's not what it is at the end of the day. At the same time, though, it needs to be faster, and it needs to be fun for those who want a representation of a Z06. Now, to put it into perspective, around Interlagos, this tune, at least for me, is about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds behind the C7 ZR1, which is a way more powerful car. Technically, it's higher on the pecking order as well. So I think that's actually quite an impressive result, considering how ballistic the C7 ZR1 is compared to the C8 Z06. Well, imagine what a C8 ZR1 could be like, and doubtless we'll get that in future. So if you do decide to use this build, of course I hope you have a ton of fun with it. And for those who maybe missed my last Special Projects car pack, of course check that out down below. Aside from that though, next month in January I am putting out another Special Projects pack number 2, so stick around for that in probably early-ish January. And as I said at the start of the video, there is barely any time remaining now to enter the competition before that winner is picked, so if you do want to win a PS5, click the link down below and check out the details. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.